Conference will now be recorded.
Okay, this meeting is called to order at 10:04. Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Shane?
Here.
Denise Reed? Absent. Pauline York?
Here.
Leilani Powell? Absent. Laura Ball?
Here.
Bruce Christie?
Here.
And I guess I probably should change this. Cindy Rajan / Riley Holland? Absent.
Oh, so Riley's not with us anymore?
She was unable to attend because her brother passed away, so she had to go somewhere.
Oh, just not today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so any public comment before we get started?
This is your moment.
This is our public.
This is your moment.
Okay, perfect. So no public comment. All right, so let's move on to discussion items. So we're going to start with the sports court update. Chris?
Yeah, so this is not in the packet. I did put together a little something in writing, just so there's a lot going on in the sports court, and just wanted to provide a clear update on it. So since approval of the sports court's construction contract at the RID board meeting in January, the GM, myself as project manager, met with consultant engineer Mike Bruno and contractor Ben McMahon. I issued the notice to proceed and signed the contract with BM Construction on January 27th. The work is scheduled for completion within 6 months of the notice to proceed, so that would be July 27th. The project manager, myself, consultant engineer, and contractor agreed to an initial change order for minor revisions to the concrete slab specifications. These revisions will improve the slab quality and add zero additional costs to the contract price. Baird Engineering also surveyed the court site on February 11th, marking the corners of the court, location, and associated elevations. This task was originally estimated at $3,000. Baird is charging the district only $750, generating budgetary savings of $2,250. More recently, the project manager, speaking myself, third person, more recently, myself, consultant engineer, and contractor have agreed to a second change order, required to add fence post footings on the north and south sides of the court, and an extended sidewalk on the east side. This change order increases the construction contract an additional $9,430.80 to bring the new total up to $165,163.54. I've also been working on gathering quotes for fencing. Final design will be 8-foot fencing on the north and south sides of the court behind the basketball hoops, and 4-foot fencing on the east and west sides, along with access gates. This part of the project was originally estimated at $20,000, but the quotes gathered thus far are in the $15,000 range, generating a budgetary savings of $5,000. Staff have also procured a sign to post during construction and for 4 years after completion of the project, which is a requirement of the grant. Next steps are for BDM Construction to start mobilizing. Ben has indicated he'd like to do so as soon as possible, depending on the weather. He mentioned if you had a 2-week break, you'd start even grading. So staff will have to relocate the horseshoe pits and install the sign before he begins work for our next step. And that completes that update.
I have one more thing to add on that subject, and that is, one more thing to add on that subject is that we've been in some discussions about how to paint and stripe it, and here's a candidate design that one of the ones we've been working on. We realized recently that the slab was generous enough to support 3 pickleball courts instead of 2. So that plan reflects that. Now, of course, there's going to have to be input on exactly how to do that, which colors to choose and everything. But the thought so far is that the concrete itself will be colored. So there'll be a green surface and a durable green surface, and then bright colors for the striping.
Yeah, that's correct. Part of change order 1 was the addition of avocado, I believe, is the title of the color for the concrete.
Okay, and then, Chris, when would you be relocating those horseshoe pits? When would that happen, do you think?
I've been communicating with the golf group. I know they have the Irish games March 28th, so we're gonna do it well before that. So probably the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Is horseshoe part of the games? It is?
Yes.
Yeah.
We, they, obviously near the bocce ball court would be the best location. I'm not sure if there's enough room there. We're gonna look into that, but, an alternate location is also the front lawn of the clubhouse. There's enough space there.
Rather than just moving it down some?
Well, the thing is if Ben starts mobilizing, he will need that whole space, from. location
So
to
during the construction?
Yeah.
Okay.
The airport access road,
Uh,
back further in the grass, that's possible, but it's a little bit further away. You
Yeah.
have to go around
yeah,
the construction.
okay.
I think in front of the clubhouse, and are you talking about that little where the?
Where there used to be a putting green.
I'd be a little bit concerned about, I mean, with kids running around and stuff at the clubhouse and getting injured.
Yeah.
That's a concern, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, I think that would mostly be during events though. You know, when there would be kids running around, it'd be during events. I don't think it would be when they have horseshoes. You know, it's like Thursday nights and stuff like that.
No,
I
no
don't
kids
think
are
it-
allowed during horseshoes.
No, but if this is like a spot that those little the horseshoe things,
Right, right.
spikes or if
That's
they
true.
That's why we
stay
put the
there,
traffic
then.
cones on, right?
Traffic cones go on top of them.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, there's not really a good spot for them. I don't think until the construction's done,
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
you know, it's just
Then we
temporary.
get, so it just
It's
temporary,
temporary.
Yeah.
okay.
Temporary,
Yeah.
just until construction,
hmm
which, once you get started, it doesn't take 30 days. 30 working days to get it done.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Is there anything else anybody has to say about the sports court on this committee?
Nope.
Okay, great. And then just as an FYI, I did send Chris an eco tile, Bruce. I don't know if you've seen those. It's where they actually have the sports court and the basketball court already designed on the tiles. And you can pick them up and put them down. It's an alternate to concrete.
Oh, right.
And they're actually really quite inexpensive, like $3.19 a square foot.
Okay.
So I don't know
How
how
many
much the
square feet do we have, Chris?
I don't know how much concrete is a square foot, but I did send it to Chris just for you guys to look at.
92 by 60.
So it'd be like 6,000 square feet. We earlier on in this project, we did look at a variety of court surfaces, either painted on or, coated on or assembled and put down. And the impression at the time was, I don't know if we found the one you were looking at, was that they would have been quite a bit more expensive and probably not as durable as plain concrete.
Yeah, I mean, I thought so too until I saw the grade of the concrete, which is a little bit lower. You know, they think it's like 80 grade or something like that, something lower. So it's going to crack, it's going to get weeds that are coming up in it. Then I also thought about maintenance costs too, right? The
No.
staining of the concrete, the painting of the lines.
I think it's unreasonable to expect that we're going to get cracks and weeds in the slab. You think
No.
that's a reasonable expectation, Chris?
No, and she's referring to the compaction, part of change order 1 was to lower the compaction requirement from like 95, 99% down to 80 or 85%, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, I just trust Ben and Mike to make sure we're not gonna get cracks, but I know Ben.
One of the additions was also the compounding of the fiberglass fiber into the cement,
Yeah,
which almost completely stops cracking occurring in the slabs.
Yeah.
yeah, I know Ben did add a wire mesh
Mhm.
component that was not in the original plans. That kind of thing.
So I don't think that the additional expense of an added-on constructed surface on top of that is justified by that risk.
Oh, so you don't put it on top of concrete, it's instead of concrete. So it's
Oh,
just,
oh,
it's an
okay, I see what you
right?
mean, okay.
So. and I
Like
just
put it
think
like
it's
using
worth-
pavers instead of
Correct,
concrete.
exactly.
Okay.
And it already has the drainage in it, you just put some drainage rock underneath it, or you can put
Okay,
it on.
my
further.
concern would be about something about that being put down on a compacted base is that it wouldn't have the structural integrity to maintain its flatness over time. Whereas
I mean,
the
it's
concrete's
definitely
gonna stay flat.
Yeah, it's definitely something for you guys to look into, but it seems to be kind of the new standard now, especially in California. They're using those everywhere instead of concrete because of the maintenance cost over time too of repainting, fixing any cracks, which I'm sure probably won't happen, but if we have a big earthquake, I mean, it's not anybody's
Mhm.
fault that it happens, but it will happen, right, with earth movement. Or if there's something that goes wrong with the tile, you can simply pick it up and replace it because they're interlocking. And that's something that RID could do maintenance wise that would be low cost for them to maintain. And so I just sent that to you just as an option.
Yeah, I
So.
think share the screen and have that link now on my screen.
Mhm.
Doing so would completely invalidate our current contracts and set the project back as well.
Yeah.
And it may be a goal, but I don't apply that goal.
That's not the goal.
Yeah, I guess it would look kind of like
Mhm.
those
Mhm.
Like they're
kind of
on.
plastic
Mhm.
liner things that interlock. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, it's supposed to have really good ball response too for pickleball, and basketball.
You can park a
So,
car on it, apparently.
yeah, and you can even park on it. Not that we want that, but you can.
They're using those in Maui for temporary parking lots.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it's a really
We-
cool
we
material.
drove on them and I was like, what is this? They're kind of interesting. I'd never seen them before.
Yeah.
But we drove on them. They weren't flat. It was just all like wavy and bumpy. But that's
Totally
because
not done with the compacted
that's
base.
because the
Right.
county it's just temporary
Right.
parking lots.
Yeah, I said I can, bring this up with the contractor and
Mhm.
engineer and see what they say.
Yeah, definitely just something to consider, why not? Okay, so let's go. Is there anything else from the committee before we move on to public comment? Okay, great. So any public comment on the sports court update?
Don't see any online.
Okay, so moving on. So future of the Parks and Rec Committee discussion item.
We missed community center.
Oh, sorry, community center update. I'm getting ahead of
All
myself.
right. So again, I wrote something up just so I can get all my thoughts together. So at the February 19 board meeting, the board approved the Parks and Recreation Committee's recommendation to reallocate remaining funds from the Parks Department budget, line item number 501 engineering general, for mold abatement and community clubhouse. This increases the originally approved budget for that line item, just over $3,000. I've been in contact with North State Pure Maintenance for this service, who confirmed his quote from last year in the amount of $6,769 is still valid. So we have a tentative schedule for this task, Monday, May 18th to Tuesday, May 19th. He recommended that we do this task after the brunt of the rainy season due to the ongoing issues of water intrusion in the building. Just as a side note, Jessica and I actually went down to the clubhouse during our 10-plus-inch rain event Monday or Tuesday, and it was actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be. The window and the upstairs was leaking, but it wasn't going onto the floor. It was just kind of leaking in the frame of the window. It has been much worse in the past. But the garage area was pretty bad. It was very wet down there. So we're definitely going to have to wait to do the mold treatment until that it's not effective to do it. It's going to get wet again right afterward. So that's why we're waiting till May. Hopefully the rain will be, mostly done by then. But yeah, that's on schedule. The board also approved the committee's recommendation to approve Scarf's request to store broken down booths in the clubhouse, contingent upon staff and fire department approval. So, and contingent upon other, like Cove and Active Cert, making sure we have enough space down there. But tentative approval, as long as it works for everybody. However, the board rejected the committee's recommendation to direct staff to seek out bids for waterproofing the building. Instead, the board directed staff to return with the architect's contract and remodeling plans for the building, considering the imminent timeline of a promising state grant. The concern is that the remodel tasks may require tearing out any potential waterproofing projects, thereby wasting time and money. The schedule for this potential grant is to apply for it this spring, summer, and then the state will issue notice of awards next spring, 2027. So we're only a year away from really knowing if we're going to get this grant.
So we kick the can down the road to save a bunch of money
Yeah.
for a year, basically.
Yeah, the thought is, we tear apart the south exterior wall, reside, fix all the leaks, and then turns out we want to remodel and tear all that out again to do whatever expansion or change. So
And we're confident that this is a grant we can get.
I think we're definitely checking all the boxes of the eligibility on this grant, so I'm confident.
We also have several more grants too and future
Yeah,
courts
yeah.
too that we can apply for as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. go ahead.
Is there a approved expansion plan in your office?
No, the architect that we hired, he came to do the site visit. He did start working on some plans, but we haven't seen all those plans.
But it is, there's a process right now of plans being drawn for an expansion?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have to stay within the
Or
They could
reconfigure it.
possibly
Right.
close some areas that are.
So
Remodeling.
if you're worried about the repairing that side, but you're not, but I don't understand.
We can go over the deck as far as the footprint, so we may expand on those, yeah.
Because the deck is part of the footprint.
Right.
So
So
we can,
second floor could increase square
Okay,
footage,
right. So it goes out to the edge of the deck.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's
Okay.
which is quite a bit in area, actually.
Yeah, it is. It would add a lot of square footage.
It would
but if
actually.
you went both ways over the
Uh-huh.
deck, so.
Okay, so that is a potential expansion.
Yeah. And I think,
Next year.
for 2027, and,
Yeah.
I know you got a preliminary view of the plans. I think when we were discussing it with him, when we met there, we weren't really talking about covering the deck. Did we talk about that with him?
No.
So that might not be included, so that you might want to reach back out to him and let him know, like, we're actually looking at a bigger project than we initially were when we met with him.
Oh, he'll be crestfallen.
Yeah, my viewing of his initial kind of sneak peek plans was, he had no input from us, it's just the first draft basically, so there would have to be back and forth to change, modify those.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's it for community center update. Any questions?
My only question is, so is RID going to allocate budget to continue to abate the mold until the water issues are resolved?
Well, we'll be going into our budget process here
Mhm.
probably the next month, and,
Sounds like we'll need to.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
that'll definitely be a subject.
okay, perfect. I think that's all I have.
Has anyone done any research about how to like slow the mold down? Like there's certain things you could spray, right? That could slow that stuff down for a year or two?
Well, mainly it's just trying to keep the water out of the building.
Right, that's
so-
the most important part, but it sounds like that's not a top priority, right? It's just dealing with the mold that's there, but not much we could do about it coming back.
Not yet.
Not yet. So has anyone done any research about what you could do to slow it down, like certain sprays?
The guy is spraying it with something, I'm not sure if that would work.
Yeah, the abatement guy.
That you could just keep,
What can be done?
right, but then about when the rains, right before the rains start, I would think another application of something, especially in the interior walls and ceiling and corners, that could be sprayed to just kind of keep it from growing back.
Well, if that was to be done, the abatement guy would be the guy who would do it, so.
Yeah.
That's a great
Gonna ask.
recommendation, Pauline.
Yeah.
I would just ask him if there's something that can be a preventative,
Yeah.
for it coming back that we could spray on top of abating it.
Questions.
Right, exactly. That's good.
Questions are free still, right?
Yeah.
Right?
I know we were also potentially looking at moving a large dehumidifier into the building.
Right,
but
right.
It was, I don't know if it's really feasible
Oh.
as far as like
Energy,
usage and
right.
space. all that.
We might need to just get some smaller ones around after or something
We
like that.
did get a couple smaller ones just for the children's playroom and the library. But
Makes
they're
sense.
very small.
Right.
Yeah, I would think there's gotta be some commercial products out there that helps take moisture out of that room during the humid season, you know.
Mhm.
We'll dangle 200 rid,
Those
damper
bags, right? The damper. I was thinking that because in Hawaii, we fight the mold too, and we have these bags hanging everywhere. Like every 2 weeks, you have to replace them, but they just draw the water right out of the air. But anyway,
I lived
just,
in Florida.
yeah, you just, trying to think of ways to, at least slow it down.
Right. Yeah.
So that, yeah, we'll probably have some ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. We can definitely talk to the abatement guy about that, or person. Okay, perfect. Any public comment on community center? I think so. Okay, moving on. Future of the Parks and Recreation Committee.
I don't really have anything for that.
Do you want to take this on or you want me to?
Yeah.
Okay. So as we are kind of ending our end of our recommendations here, as we see this very enormous packet in front of us, it kind of comes down to what we're going to recommend RID to do in the future with Parks and Rec. And after talking with Nick and talking with the committee and kind of how things have been done successfully, it sounds like the best move is to take these ideas and break out into project working groups instead of having a Parks and Rec committee. Our founding commitments were to redefine and research and do research and development on the initial strategic plan and redefine that and what it looked like, and also come up with some more ideas that the community wanted based on the survey, and of course all of us here on the committee, what we think the community is asking for. So that's kind of already here. So before we get to the action items, we can just briefly discuss our recommendation, which will be at the next meeting, of what we recommend RID to do with this committee. And so,
And we're talking about this
correct,
stuff.
because these are our finals, right? So
Yeah.
we're pretty much done
Okay.
here. The only thing we just didn't get on the action items, Bruce, was the sports court and the golf. So
Right.
then we'll have that for the next meeting. We can get that approved, and then we'll have our final recommendations for RID by April, which is what we said we would do, which is great. We're on time. And so what we'll do the next meeting, depending on these action items, is we'll pitch those, and then we'll just have the sports court and the golf course left for them to hear our recommendation. So that will be it, and then that's great too. So then our last meeting can have your finals for that, and then it'll also have any follow-up questions that RID has on these recommendations. Yeah. So, so my kind of opinion here is that we dissolve this committee after that meeting, and that we can also recommend that to RID, and that can be on our action item for the next meeting. And then we can all pair out based on our nonprofits what makes sense for the working group, and how our nonprofits can benefit RID. And we'll get into this further, but after at least my initial research and development, the more that I do in RID when it comes to Parks and Rec, the more that I am feeling that RID does not have the bandwidth to take on these projects. So they need to be spearheaded by a nonprofit with RID as the support. And so that's really what I kind of want to recommend to RID as well, which is why I listed the nonprofits that can work for these projects where it makes sense in the grants that they can apply for with RID as a partnership. And so I think a partnership between nonprofits and RID is what's going to make a successful Parks and Rec for us here in this community. So, and I think the best way to accomplish that is working groups, because this is all theoretical strategy, right?
Mhm.
So we can't go any further than this based on why this committee was formed. If RID, of course, if the board wants us to do something different and be formed to do something different, that's a whole different thing. But as it stands right now, we've done our work. So.
Yeah, I think that the biggest takeaway from this is that while the community really wants more recreational opportunities, the bottom line is that the district is in no financial capacity or employee capacity to expand our recreation, right? And the only way we're really going to be able to accomplish what's in here is with the help of nonprofits and them helping to spearhead not just volunteerism in maintaining projects, but also going after these grants as well.
So let me explore this. Are you saying that you don't think that the way that RID is currently operating a project to build sports courts is inappropriate and shouldn't be done in the future?
Isn't inappropriate?
Is inappropriate. That RID should be doing the project. Nonprofits should be doing these projects.
In my opinion, I believe we are going to need help with nonprofits going for other grants.
But
so that
my
it
question
doesn't.
is, should RID be involved in the project? It seemed to be implying that RID should not be involved in the project.
We will be able to partner with nonprofits. We're providing property, land, but as far as being the ones to spearhead the grants and really motivating the community to come together to accomplish these projects, I don't believe that the district has that capacity.
Okay, so even things like relocating a horseshoe pit and putting up a sign to support a contractor are too much for RID to do? I just want to find out where your line is here.
That's not what.
Because I don't think RID can be excluded from these projects.
No, not excluded. We're going to be partnering, but we can't spearhead these projects, in my opinion. I think, and as far as like, one of the things that came back in the surveys, the top thing that kept coming up is that people really want us to focus on the district, to focus on the infrastructure of utilities and maintain the recreation that we have.
Okay, Chris, I have a question for you.
So hold on one second. And so that would mean obviously maintaining the golf course, we've committed to the sports court, so that's going to be maintained. And so yes, obviously we can go and put up some signs, and Chris is a project manager on that as well. That's out of our, that's already happening. So I wouldn't say that it's inappropriate. We have different opinions on whether or not we should have or could have, or if we have, that where the funding's coming from. But I'm being real in that the district in its capacity right now, we are not able to expand our recreation the way that the community would like. And so in order to expand recreation, what the district can bring to the table is property to be used. But we're really going to need to partner with nonprofits to help facilitate the accomplishment, to accomplish these recreational
I understand that
opportunities.
point.
Okay,
Chris,
so
are you saying that RID no longer has the bandwidth to be a partner other than providing property in recreation projects?
No, I wouldn't say that's true. We are going to continue to maintain.
So would it be possible for you to do a project a year, for example?
Yeah. I mean, we're going to
Could
continue
you
to
do
maintain-
2 projects a year maybe if they were not huge?
Well, staff's help. I mean, for instance, we did the Lot W well grant project, and we're doing the sports court project simultaneously.
Right, and so doing projects is an important part of what the Resort Improvement District is and does. And those projects are sometimes utility projects, they're sometimes recreation projects. And so I think this foregone conclusion that you're presenting, that RID has to scale back its involvement in projects to benefit the community, I don't accept that. I just don't accept that.
I don't know if that's what Tasha's actually, I think what the point is that there are so many things that this community wants based on that survey, Bruce. And also just what we hear every day, when I go to Cornhole at Chippo or I go to karaoke night at Mario's, I hear things what people want in the community. It's an overwhelming amount of things, and they're all awesome and we all want them. And I think the point is the way to get there faster is to not just rely on RID alone to get there.
I never
right?
said that.
And so, and I think too, and I just don't think maybe you're saying it well,
okay,
which
that's
is not
fine.
your
Yeah,
fault.
no.
But I think what she's saying is that instead of just saying, hey, RID, take on these projects and make this Parks and Rec happen, instead of it all being on RID, they're able to partner with the nonprofits to assist them in accomplishing those goals.
I think the Sports Courts project in particular is an excellent example with the probably $60,000 to $75,000 worth of community input that has gone into that project.
Yeah,
Okay?
absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what these all are, right? So it's nonprofit, it's RID support, and it's also volunteer work.
Your guys' group, you guys spearheaded that, right? You guys.
That's
did the-
right.
You
I'm
guys
talking
did
about
the,
serious community
you
input,
guys did the grant writing.
but not without Chris's involvement.
Right, exactly.
He's been involved all the way along.
Right.
But
But
he
he
hasn't
he
said
would always
anything
be
that we
involved.
wouldn't be involved.
Yeah.
on recreational
I
opportunities.
think it's an example of what she's talking about. Your guys' group, you did the majority of that work, right? You guys said that there are certain members of your group that spent, I don't know how many hours, like hundreds of hours. Your group did those hours. RID didn't provide those hours. I think that's what you guys are talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's not so much not having RID involved, it's you guys did the bulk of the hours. You know how much that would have cost if RID, how much would that have cost if you guys have done those hours?
I know there was a quote from SHN Engineering out of Eureka to do project management. Exactly what Mike group and helping out.
Right,
Rodra,
right.
Bruce.
How much?
I think it was $10,000.
Oh, I thought it was
You
more
guys
than that.
saved them 100 grand. I think that's what they're talking about. I think they're talking about you guys is an example of what some of these projects might need.
Right, I guess I'm just a little tired of hearing, we can't. Okay, because we're clearly doing it, we can.
Well, you're an example of what they're talking
We're-
about.
I think we're actually saying we can't, because, and using you guys as an example, this is proof that we
Yeah,
can't,
that's how
right?
And we can. do these
Unless
working
I'm
groups.
misunderstanding, that's what you said and what he said is actually an example of, let's say, somebody who wants to put in beach access, okay? Well, that's going to take hours of somebody writing grants, doing the research. And so if you had a nonprofit work with RID to do that labor, I think that to me is what my understanding of what they are proposing.
Yeah.
And what they did is an example of that. I think it's actually a positive thing.
Yeah.
What you guys did was amazing for this community. That you saved RID and us, who are the revenue, 100 grand.
That's
That's
what
positive.
That's what we're talking about.
I don't understand the anger here. I think
And none
that's
of these things
positive.
will
You guys,
happen without RID
No, it's-
approval.
No, it's not about that. I mean, this is a good example of what things can be done.
yeah.
I'm just very, very tired of the rhetoric which says that, oh, woe is me, we're so poor, we can't afford to do anything, and we're going to take every step at every time interval to try to kill things. You know, like for example, now we're going to have a plastic surface for the sports courts after we've already signed the goddamn contract
Okay, please.
for doing the job. We have a perfectly acceptable plan on the table, a contract has been signed, and you want to second guess it?
Bruce, let's calm down and be respectful. Okay, nobody's second guessing anything. It's a suggestion. That's what we're here to do. We're here to make suggestions based on community benefit. You can take them, you cannot take them. That is completely up to RID and the sports court nonprofit. I am just giving a recommendation based on what I know and my background in interior design. Okay, so that's it. There's
And that wasn't.
nobody's trying to do anything. I'm trying to be helpful and give an alternate. That's all.
And if that alternate has already been considered,
Then
I'm
that's
sorry.
fine.
that was a
It's just-
discussion.
I'm sorry, you're lying. You're not trying to be helpful to this project.
Excuse
You've
me.
never tried to be helpful to this project.
Are you
Are you the one
Do you know how
that
many-
got up at the RID meeting and presented a whole manifesto of
Hey,
your objections to the project? And now you're saying you're trying to be helpful.
I have always tried to be helpful. Okay, and that's really this just isn't appropriate right now. We're talking about the future of this Parks and Rec committee. That's the subject, right? And so all we're saying is going forward that we think working project groups with nonprofit and RID is the best way to move forward. Do you agree or not?
I agree.
Okay,
Thank you.
lovely. All right, so
That's
we
it.
can put that as an action item for the next meeting. All right. Is there any public comment?
Or do you have?
What just happened?
I have no idea.
That was
What?
weird.
What's going on?
I don't know. Let's
Well,
move.
I can just say that the idea of the court surface, I can bring it up, but yeah, there's no change to it yet.
No.
That's it's been settled, signed on.
That was just a conversation that they had had. It wasn't to stop anything or change anything. It was just something that she had presented to him. And I'm not sure where the vitriol is coming from, but we need to stop it. We need to maintain professional. We need to not be cursing and get through this.
I use the word damn. Oh my God.
We're
Okay.
being filmed and we are on
Fine,
YouTube.
fine.
Okay, let's attempt to move on to action items, which is approve the minutes of January 22nd, 2026, the regular Parks and Rec Committee meeting. I have looked over this. I do not see anything that needs to be changed or altered.
Nope.
The footnote date is wrong, unfortunately. I didn't correct that, so I need to change the footnote where it says minutes and the date on the bottom of the page.
Oh, I didn't even
So-
notice that.
There is
Okay.
that, but it's a minor change. And then also I did, recommendation for the exemption calendar. I omitted the word motion to leave policy or just with motion leave.
Oh,
And I could be
okay. Got it.
phrasing, but those are two things I noted to change.
The date only.
Mhm.
And put the word to,
So does that mean we can't approve these
Yeah,
yet?
we
You can
can.
approve them
With
It's just a
changes,
change.
okay.
Yeah. If anyone wants to make a motion, please do.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the minutes.
Second,
Okay, roll call.
Roll call. Chris Christie,
aye.
Leilani Powell, absent. Denise Reed, absent. Denise Riley, absent. Laura Wall,
Aye, yeah, aye.
Pauline York.
Aye.
And Tasha Bushe.
I,
Okay.
get through. I
All
do want
right,
to do this.
any public comment on the minute? All right,
Did we want to just make that announcement of Simi's resignation, or did we already do that?
No, we didn't do that. Sorry, did include his withdrawal letter in your packet. So we did, or my understanding, Riley was informed
mhm.
that she would be stepping up to the seat. It does raise an issue that I guess probably could have been considered as part of the future Parks and Recreation Committee is if we think that another alternate should be seated. If you guys feel like your responsibilities are done, then that could be part of a recommendation to the board that you don't, even though, I mean, our resolution that was approved by the board for the Parks and Rec Committee does include an alternate as one of the things that's supposed to be done. So
I had a question. When this committee was originally formed, it was for 2 years, right?
correct.
Okay, and so the 2 years will be up like in October, November?
It started in January of 2025.
Oh, okay.
was the first meeting.
Okay,
So technically it could go through December
okay.
this year.
But we were thinking, and the reason why we brought it up for discussion about the future is because if we can accomplish more in small working groups, it would also save staff time and then get the project.
In the meantime, though, there does have to be an alternate?
I think if you guys are talking about concluding
By April?
by April, then by the time that the approval goes to the board,
Oh,
would
it'll be,
probably
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Kind of moved, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Okay, perfect. So I hope you all read through the packet. What I'd like to do is just kind of briefly go over all the sub bullets of everything. So this doesn't take like 5 hours because it would be a lot of reading,
It's only 80 pages.
right? So I'm not sure how you want to, do you want me to just go project by
Yeah,
project?
I guess just, over you.
Okay.
And then again, these are ideas. The board's gonna be able to take them or leave them, or nonprofits will be able to, take them or leave them.
Right, these are just recommendations. So the first one we have here is a community food forest. And here is the project overview, which is essentially designing using permaculture and forest layer principles to have a low maintenance ecosystem that provides food, education, habitat, and community connection. This is one of those that I really think we could definitely get a lot of volunteer work and donation work. I think it could be a really attainable project that wouldn't have a huge budget. And And this also, with the grants and fundraising committee, we put everything together. So we have budget, we have nonprofit recommendations, we have grants, and then we have a recommended implementation timeline on how long we believe that it will take. This one, for example, we think 12 to 18 months from when it gets started. And then we have a community impact section and then a final recommendation.
About how much land do you think you would need for something like this?
I think that would kind of, we could do it on anything. It could be a quarter acre, it could be a half acre.
Oh, even as small as a quarter acre.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And I think we have enough greenbelt space to definitely make that happen somewhere.
Do you have a potential site?
I have a couple of ideas, but not a potential site because we're not even allowed to recommend those technically.
See,
So
that's where a work party
Exactly.
could go and, you know, do all the legwork.
Make it
which
happen.
is
Yeah,
good too,
exactly.
under the Brown Act too, so we could actually work in a group, which would be
Right,
lovely.
right. I think that's another good point to bring
Mhm.
up. That's kind of important, you
Yeah.
know, because, you know, making sure you're not violating the Brown Act, it can get a little tricky when our subcommittees are even so small, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And we all want to work as a team together, so that makes it difficult. So then we have the Eco Putt course, which I think could be super fun. And so essentially the project over here is to try to find and source found materials, driftwood, stones, rock, maybe have some sculptures that Scarf can do of animals or something that has to do with forest or mushrooms or whatever is obstacles in a putt course. And I think it'd be cool to have it somewhere by the actual golf course, you know, somewhere in that area. I think would be really fun. So even like kids can play putt and the parents can play golf or, you know, whatever. It'd be a really good opportunity just to have some passive income, very low maintenance. It could be volunteer work. I already talked with my board at Cove Connect and they would really love to take this project on. So this is something we're willing to spearhead.
Do we have a windmill?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As long as too many birds don't die in it, but we'll see. Plug it up to the grid.
Poor birds. I feel sorry for the birds.
Right. So I just put in here even proposed pricing and estimated cost model or revenue uses, some partnerships we can do with local artists and builders, Scarf, Cove Connect. I found tons of grants too. That's more than enough to do this. Even we could do a sponsorship and adopt a whole program. Maybe some of the local businesses that would want to adopt a whole.
Local schools.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely. So that could be kind of cool. An eco-friendly living children's playground and pump track. So this would be here where the existing playground is, and then just extending up here by the red sign, there would be a small pump track up here for the kids to skateboard, roller skate,
So it'd be kind
whatever.
of part on the slope then.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is
Okay.
perfect, great
Yeah.
for that. So we don't even have to do that much excavation. It would be
Right.
really, really easy to do. And then kind of taking the same theme of the eco-friendly putt and using it here. So doing, you know, driftwood monkey bars and things like that. Kind of updating the playground a little bit and having, you know, some things like maybe even a poured rubber surface instead of spending $7,000 a year in mulch, you know, things like that where we can actually save time and money and maintenance down the line. And that, again, this was a Cove Connect project. This is something we'd be willing to take on with Scarf. So then we don't have to spend all that money on wood chips. And kind of get something that's good for kids of every age range, which I think we desperately need here because it is so.
So the
Fast.
living children's playground is at the site of the current one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right here.
Yeah, it would just get a refresh.
Okay.
And we do something that's lower maintenance.
Right.
Instead of wood chips.
But you're not asking to remove the playground. You're just
No.
No.
wanting to add
Exactly.
eco-friendly.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
well, because Cheryl plays on there a lot with Elder, and she says there's like the wood's coming apart. There's
The wood
things are
chips.
rusted. I mean, no, even the playground stuff
Oh,
itself,
okay.
it needs to be
Okay.
updated. So we thought we just update it and maybe work with local builders and artists and do something that's
Okay.
cheap and found material, but is still, you know, so it's an idea. But essentially rejudging that playground needs to happen, and doing something that's low maintenance for our ID and for our nonprofits too. And then let's see, so a whale watching park. So here the idea is to have viewing binoculars, seating and relaxation areas, drifted benches, hammocks, native plant restoration, working with sanctuary forests and Friends of the Lost Coast, and then having some interpretive signage, whale species, migration pathways, relevant ecology. There's a budget here of what it could cost. Of course, this is assuming volunteer labor and some in-kind support from nonprofits who are feasible. So I listed all the nonprofits here with their partnerships and roles. I think Cal Poly could definitely be helpful for something like that. And then there's some grants here that I found, about 4, which is more than enough. The implementation timeline on this too is really low, 15 to 18 months. It wouldn't take too long to actually do. This would create educational opportunities for youth and visitors, enhances our native habitat and coastal resilience, extended visitation during whale migration season. This provides a space that could be linked with a whale fest and other community events like they're doing in Fort Bragg coming up. They're having that huge whale fest that brings a whole bunch of people. If we have something like that, that's something that we could do here. I also made a grant spreadsheet of a whole bunch of different grants that we could apply for the whale watching park. And then kind of outline those of the strength for RID. Is it moderate? Is it high? Where you have to partner with a nonprofit or not. And then the goals would be for event components. So the Whale Fest could be something we could do. So it'd be a guided whale watching session, eco-education, interpretive talks, kids and family activities, local vendors and food. We could do music and stage, partner booths. So a timeline for an event, probably 6 months to secure permits and stuff. We could do something with Scarf Cove Connect. I mean,
The cost you have here on the viewing binoculars, it says 2 to 3 units. Is that the cost for all 3 units, or is that per?
that's for all 3.
Oh, is it?
Mhm.
I thought it was per.
No,
Yeah.
it's all 3.
Is there any way that we could get BLM to do this? It seems like a natural.
Well, they'll
They have all the other, wildlife science and various little spots around here. It just seems so natural that this would be a BLM facility. Not that we wouldn't build an event around it, but I don't know, there's
Are you
a
talking
chance
about
we
the
could get them,
binoculars?
all of
the whole thing.
all of the physical infrastructure that they're talking about here. Yeah.
Depending on where those were put, some of the locations we've identified, one is up here at the playground, another down at the blowhole, which is district property, and then over by Little Black Sands, which is
Mhm.
district property.
These would be the kind you put a quarter in or
And then
50
we would-
cents.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
so it's a
then we would
revenue.
get that
Okay.
revenue.
Oh, I see.
And then if we can work with BLM if they want to do one on the lighthouse,
Mhm.
something
Yeah,
like
for
the
example.
lighthouse.
Then they
Yeah.
would
For
get some
example,
money
but
for
then
that
they would
one.
get that.
Okay.
that
Where,
money. So we were just
where
trying.
is the best viewing at the point?
The
Blowhole.
blowhole is probably the best because it gets you out past everybody.
Mhm.
But then but also if we had one up here, we
At the playground.
up at the playground, that would be good for kids and would also be
Mhm.
good for people, for visitors and
Looking at boats
Beautiful
and
view.
stuff.
yeah, and getting
view.
people's getting
Okay.
kids interest. But
Mhm.
we were also trying to bring in some revenue. Yes.
Any miles is online behavior.
Okay, go ahead, Fiona.
Hi, can I talk?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi, everybody. So I'm Sandy, and I'm the outdoor recreation planner with the BLM at King Range. And this has actually come up just recently for us, the viewing stations. We have some projects planned at both Malcolm's and at Black Sands Beach to install a couple of those viewing stations. We're going to be putting in accessible like walkways, potentially either cementing or hard packing the trail out to the viewpoint at Malcolm's, and then having a pad out there that has a viewing station. So that is in the works right now, and we actually think that we're going to get funding for that. And then also out at Black Sands Beach in the upper parking lot, there's the garden and the monument at the very top with the mosaic, and then on the two sides there's two platforms that go out. We're going to expand those out farther on both sides. But on the left side, we're going to put a viewing station out there because that's got like the best view up at that very top spot. So anyway, so we have plans for 2 of those already. It is possible that we could put one at Abalone Point as well if we're going to do the other 2. So just FYI, that's in the works.
Oh, that
And
would be awesome.
yeah. And then, yeah, I'll when I can comment on other stuff, I will.
Thank you.
I remember Paul Seaver sent me an email with kind of a artist rendering of Malcolm's Park. Is that something I can share, Sandy?
We lose her.
Yes, exactly. So that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. And you can share that. And I can also talk about what we're doing with the bathrooms and all that stuff too, if you want.
The-
Yay, there you go. So this is what we're working on right now, and we potentially have funding for it. It's getting put up to the headquarters, but basically there would be a wheelchair accessible path that goes from the bathrooms through the picnic area, and then there will be an accessible picnic site that has a cement pad that comes right off the parking lot there. And then over by the lighthouse, we'll connect the cement. It's either going to be hard packed or some kind of cement out to a viewing site right at the end there, where the scenic overlook is. And there's already a couple interpretive panels out there, but we're going to put the viewing stations out there, and they'll be, at the height where they'll be accessible to everybody. So yeah, that's Malcolm's. And then one other thing about Malcolm's is that we have the artist in residence program coming up, and we are going to be putting murals inside of the bathrooms and renovating the bathrooms on the interior. And so we're going to be sort of doing the grand opening on those July 4th. So that's happening too.
Yeah, a lot of good
All
stuff.
right.
Yeah, good stuff.
Thank you, Sandy.
All right, cool.
And if I could just add,
Yeah, go ahead.
and when we start talking about some of the trails and stuff too, we're definitely looking at bringing in BLM as partners, just like a nonprofit.
But that's up to the red board.
Yeah.
So,
Not up.
yep. Okay, so moving on from the whale park and the event that we could possibly have around that, a community event, which would help everyone, tourism, nonprofits, yada yada. The next thing is the Parkettes program. So this essentially would just be micro parks and picnic spaces at the end of certain cul-de-sacs that are being unused. And this would be really low budget. I mean, we could get this done in a couple months, about $250 a picnic table. We can do in-kind cleanup and prep if we want. Small picnic tables, I thought we could work with Sanctuary Forest, Rental Lost Coast, maybe even Cove Connect and Scarf for community engagement sponsorships. Maybe some businesses want to sponsor a picnic table or sponsor a parkette or something like that, which would be great. And I listed a few grants too for picnic tables or site prep if we needed that or wanted that, and kind of make it something more. Maybe we could put in interpretive signage or something, working with Sanctuary Forest about the ecology or the wildlife or even the indigenous. We can figure something out with that. The next thing, which of course everyone talks about, is disc golf.
I have one question about the parkette.
Oh yeah.
If this is, a RID facility, a little parkette here, and we're like going into a cul-de-sac and there's a nice view, and so we're going to put a bench there. Do we have any requirement to make such a facility ADA accessible? At that scale, do we have to do that or not?
We'll have to do some follow-up on that. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I'm just wondering, because that would either limit your choices of location or add to your cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
I'll put that down.
Okay, so disc golf course. So thinking a nature-based disc golf course, an existing terrain, trails, and open space within the shelter cove. I imagine something that's really cool in the woods with some awesome natural landscape and somewhere where we wouldn't need to do major grading or tree removal. So we were thinking, so we could do a 9-hole course, or we could expand it later to 12 or 18 holes. Professional grade disc golf baskets, environmental and safety considerations, so no permanent concrete pads, minimal ground disturbance. Look for trail crossings, sightlines, environmental sensitivity, and maybe compliant with a fire resilient trail corridor where appropriate. So partnerships and collaboration, again, Cove Connect Scarf, the local disc golf players and clubs, and then of course RID.
Would something like this fit like on Lot LK, for example? But is that a big enough space for something like this?
I think a 9-hole.
Yeah, maybe a 9-hole, but I think we were also talking about, when this project comes before the board, like, hopefully we'll have some different, areas, identified that could be.
Are there other places
potential.
that seem promising?
One is looking at the golf course as a whole, as a multi-course is one option. Another option is, of course, the golfers might not like that. And then other options are, we have some trails, we have fire breaks that maybe would be doable.
Traditionally, these disc golf courses are integrated in hiking trails. Like, have you ever been to the one in Garberville?
No, I haven't.
So there's one, has any of you guys been to the one in Garberville?
I have.
So it is integrated in a looping trail that goes up the hill, the mountain.
Yeah.
It goes up.
Whereabouts in Garberville?
It's at the Tubby Park.
Oh, at Tubby
Community,
Park, okay.
yeah. So there's like a big field, right? And you
Wow.
walk to the end of the field, and then there's a hiking trail that kind of goes up the hill and back down. It's a looping trail, and the disc golf baskets are positioned throughout that trail. So you're
So this could
it's
be on
integrated. Yeah.
along a green space would be just
Yeah.
fine, yeah.
Right. Or somewhere where Nick needs a fire break,
Mhm.
we could do something like that. So we could work with Nick on that.
Poison oak is unreal.
Right.
In the Garberville.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I put a budget here about 33,000 being the most. We can also do something like sponsor a basket. Again, like a business could sponsor a basket. I think they're pretty minimal, about $500 to $700 a piece. And then I listed again some grant opportunities there, and then a timeline. Again, this would be really quick and easy, 9 to 12 months. So that is all of the parks. Now we're moving on to the beaches portion of this. And so all of this is together. So this is parks, beaches, trails, arts, and ecotourism is all in the same thing here. So Little Black Sands Beach, this is the final recommendation. Essentially, this is a lot of safety and access improvements. So roadside parking safety enhancements, trail safety improvements, signage and wayfinding. Here's some environmental education and partnerships with Cal Poly, French-Lost Coast Sanctuary Forest. These are just general estimates, but it'd be 105 to 188,000. And again, I found more than enough grants here as well to cover that.
So we're talking signage at the parking area there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and making that safe, going down, and actually maybe some side parking.
I had a question on the access to Little Black Sands. Is that something that RID would work with our local fire department? Because I mean, it seems to me like they're the ones accessing that the most when they have to do rescues or I know a lot of people find themselves getting in trouble in that area.
I think maybe could they drive a 4x down there or something, a little four-wheeler?
Is that something that has?
I don't know. I can definitely work with Nick. I'm not sure.
They might appreciate that, yeah.
Yeah, I think we all would.
Well, I don't want to encourage driving on there.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Chris, is this also something that we'd be working with the county on that road?
They have responsibility over the road.
For the road.
They put the K rails at the bottom. That's the county did that.
But they're not required to provide access.
Right.
No.
Or parking.
Where does that fall on?
I don't know.
Yeah, if any development is gonna be done and it's on our property.
Is it private property or is it RID?
We have.
Combination.
It's a combination,
Yeah, in
okay.
fact, the whale's tail out there is
Right.
private property.
Right, I just learned that.
So we're not allowed to block off access.
That's some pride of
Okay.
ownership there.
Right? Yeah. So essentially,
Like I got a
this
bridge
would,
to sell ya?
improve safety for residents and visitors, reduce emergency response risk and liability, protect sensitive coastal habitats, enhances visitor understanding of local ecology, and supports sustainable ecotourism and recreation.
Mm.
Right. Yeah. So, that would take us to then trails. That's the only RID beach we have. So Art Walk Trail. So this is something.
We get the below Surf Point, it's actually already beach.
Oh, is it?
Mm.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Wow,
That was
nice.
strategic
I
of them.
didn't know that.
I didn't know that. I thought,
That was all.
yeah, I just thought that was,
Yeah.
it's considered
Oh,
public.
because of,
Surf Point to-
Coral Point.
The MOU. Yeah.
Okay,
it-
yeah.
it's-
Got
Yeah,
it.
it's got a
that-
finger,
So that
yeah.
whole little beach area.
Mhm.
Interesting.
There used to be stairs going down there. Was that RID was the one? That was the hotel.
Yeah.
Okay.
But where we could potentially do a safe beach access would be at Coral Point,
Yeah.
right? In that little, next to the hotel, the Titan.
And then you'd actually be able to walk down that other,
Yeah.
So maybe that'll be something when we get to that with the Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Yeah, Field River, and I do believe they did apply for the Whale Tails grant for signage and fencing and some improvements at Coral Point, but I don't think beach access is part of it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, so trails. We have the Art Walk Trail. This is the final recommendation, and essentially this would be something we work with Scarfin and create an Art Walk Trail installation. So design walking routes using existing trails or access corridors, installation of small scale durable outdoor art pieces such as sculptural work, carved wood or metal installations, interpretive or interactive art elements. These would be rotating or temporary installations to allow annual refreshes. So we can do this with fire resilient trail alignment, get signage and interpretation. And then I have the estimated budget with volunteer and donation forward, the in-kind and volunteer contributions. This is a non-cash match, so volunteer donated art, yada, yada. And then here I have a couple grants and then an implementation timeline. This would again be easy, about 9 to 12 months. This would enhance walkability and trail uses, support local and regional artists, improves fire access and emergency readiness, creates a unique ecocultural tourism attraction, encourages year-round community engagement. And this would then lead into the arts and ecotourism as well, which would also be a festival, which is something we could do annually with every change in the trail. And then feature artists or have some sort of competition, where they would compete and enter their art to go into the walk, and maybe give like $100 to submit their art, and then they get selected. So that would maybe be passive income for either Scarf or RID. So let's see here. So then I also have grant opportunities for that if we were to run that event. And then we have Lower Cove walking.
Actually, we're doing that. It seems to me that Lot LK would be a wonderful place for this too, since there's already the labyrinth there.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, that's kind of where I want to put the food forest too, is around there. Yeah, I think that would be great.
Does Lot LK have sunny areas? So we probably got tons of-
I think you probably have to cut something down.
Yeah.
I haven't really been there during when it's not sunny. Yeah.
Yeah, I think while LK would be more beneficial for something like this, and but I don't know about the food forest going there. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Lower Cove, we might need something a little bit higher.
Right.
Thank you, Jessica.
Okay, and the Lower Cove walking loop and airport safety corridor. So essentially, it's frequently residents and visitors frequently walk along the airport due to the lack of a defined alternative. This creates serious safety concerns related for complex and liability exposure. A purpose-built walking loop offers a proactive, cost-effective solution that improves safety while enhancing recreational access. So we do something, low impact servicing, compact space or gravel. We could put some benches into sort of signage about our history or ecology. This would obviously be non-motorized walking loop. I put a small budget in here. It could be anywhere from 90 to 210, depending on what we do and what material or medium we use. So I put a whole bunch of grants in here too. And then I put like the next steps to kind of really figure out how much this would cost, because it could really, really vary. It needs a lot of research and development.
So in simplest terms, this is a loop around the airport.
Correct.
And do you envision this going, like between the airport and the golf course, or between the golf course and the properties, or do you have a concept on that?
I
Go
think
ahead.
I think it's the perimeter of the golf course.
The
So,
outer perimeter of the
yeah,
golf course.
so it would be
Yeah.
like the outer.
Yeah.
I think when you tell people, not to walk or play on the golf course or the airstrip, if you don't give them an alternative, they're going to keep doing it. I mean, I see
Right.
people there with baby
They're on the taxiway
strollers
every day. Yeah.
every day, and so if we give them an alternative, I feel like there's no excuse now.
Okay.
There's a route, because I like walking on the golf course too with my dog, but I walk on the perimeter,
Mhm.
and try to stay out of
Right.
air traffic
Mhm.
and golfers' way.
Yeah. Okay.
And it is a big, I mean, even though it sounds simple, it is a big,
Oh, it's a long loop,
huge,
actually.
it's a huge project, and maybe we'll have to do plan or phases.
Mhm.
But it is something that the community's been asking for decades.
Well, it could probably be done phased, utilizing the golf course itself in the meantime, and then sections added, and because it would be better to have people walking the fairway than the taxiway.
But even the fairway,
Even that is not good.
I mean, I know of 2 children that were hit in the head with golf balls. I know of 2. One of them ended up in the ER, and it's not the golfer's fault,
No.
so.
And that's in here too. So the number 4 for next step is implement in phases, prioritizing signage and route definition to immediately deter the runway walking.
Yeah.
So it's part of the recommendation. So that's in there. So trail signage and ecotourism mapping, this is the final recommendation. So essentially, I'll just tell you the overview, which is update and standardize trail signage, collaborate on trail alignments that can function as fire breaks, and produce a comprehensive hiking and mountain biking map highlighting trails, viewpoints, and natural features. So that's what this recommendation is. It will go from the trail signage updates to the signage, and then the fire resilient trail planning, which of course that would be more Nick's thing. And then the Shelter Cove Whitethorn ecotourism trail map, which I think could be really awesome, which is a professional design map, including the hiking trails, mountain biking trails, shared use paths. But it can also have emergency access points. And then I would love to see icons for scenic things here, like waterfalls, scenic overlooks, like the apple orchard at Hidden Valley, or beach access points, things that tourists don't always know how to get to. I think could be really beneficial and that's where the arts and ecotourism comes into play here as well. So that's the trail map, and then just updating some signage. And then again, the partnerships and collaboration would be Friends of the Lost Coast, Sanctuary Forest, of course, the fire department, and Cal Poly Humboldt. I think they could have some mapping and assistance or some sort of academic support.
And maybe beyond.
Yeah, perhaps, yes. So this estimated planning, it could really, be anywhere, but I was estimating 60 to 108,000. And I also put several grants in here that are well over that. And then the timeline for this is about 9 to 15 months. Community impact would be improved trail safety and wayfinding, enhances wildfire preparedness and emergency access, supports sustainable hiking and mountain biking, creates a unified identity for Shelter Cove and Whitethorn trails, strengthens ecotourism and visitors' experience. Whew, all right, we're almost done. Okay, so naming of creeks, streams, trails, and waterfalls. So this would essentially be for that map, taking what we have already and naming it so we could put it on that map. And this could be a lengthy process depending on who gets involved and how many people have all their hands in the cookie jar. So it would be inventory documentation, collaborative naming process, which I think would be cool if we did a poll with the community, or RID did rather. Safety and emergency coordination, so that would of course be with fire and emergency services, so working with Nick, and then public adoption and integration. So trail signage and kiosks, ecotourism maps and guides, emergency response reference materials, and educational signage and programming.
You know, if you do polls for the names, you're gonna end up with things like Bodie McBoatface.
I hope so. So with everything, I think it could take 9 to 12 months, again, just depending on how much time we can dedicate to this. But if we have somebody dedicating actual, maybe 10, 15 hours a week, I think we can get this done in 9 to 12 months. So in benefits here be improved public safety and emergency response accuracy, enhances wayfinding and trail usability, strengthens environmental education and stewardship, supports consistent branding and ecotourism, hosts place-based identity and local knowledge.
I have one suggestion on this one as well, and that is once all this information is developed, we should add the information to places like Google Maps and Apple Maps. I myself have added a number of Shelter Cove landmarks into Google Maps.
Yeah.
And it's got a little notification from Google saying that my edition has been viewed 100,000 times.
Yeah. Yeah, Google and Apple
So
Maps are important.
You can do that, and you can add it in, and then all the tourists will be able to see that stuff too.
Absolutely.
Without us actually connecting with them and handing them a brochure.
Right. And maybe that's something, one of the nonprofits can do or something is just add those in there, or even you and I can do it. Yeah.
It's easy.
It's totally easy. Absolutely. Okay, so then this would lead to the Indigenous consultation framework to also get their input for naming of the creeks, streams, waterfalls, trails, and cultural landscapes. So we'd have initial outreach, the guiding principle, scope of consultation, and then a process, listening and dialogue, initial outreach, integration, and interview. Acknowledgement and documentation, just making sure that they're involved in, so we honor their sovereignty and knowledge. And then that ends our final recommendation for trails, access parks, arts, and ecotourism.
Well, actually, Bill George wants it to be known that he has dibs on the name Pickleball Creek for the tiny little trickle that runs into Redwood Creek by the pickleball court.
You can have it.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, that little boggy area over
It's
there.
all wetland,
Yeah.
Well, thank you
So-
for doing all this work. This is an immense amount of work that you.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of work.
Yeah, you're right. So does anybody have any questions on the committee before we go to a vote?
I have one question. We've already spoken to the tribal partners about this potential project for naming things. So I think that would be a wonderful thing if they already had names for some of these places,
That's further research and development.
Okay.
Well, that would be the working group.
Yeah,
right?
that would be
Yeah.
for the work.
Okay.
And that's why I want to do the working group, so we can actually have the authority to do that stuff, because we just don't know, so. But yes, that would definitely be the goal. Mhm. Is there anything from public comment? Yes.
This is a question.
Mhm.
In years past, the green open space did not be developed in any way whatsoever. I think like trees or- And that was a while back. The status of those is kind of a legal term. So I just was putting that out. So it's not like it's private property.
Right,
Public, open.
right.
And that's all I have. I don't know if it's still accurate.
And we
And
have a
then
lot
the
of.
second thing, just hearing that tremendous amount of work. I keep hearing like signage, signage, and I get why. But it's kind of like a lot of people come here just for open.
No.
If everything has a sign, I think it's gonna get a little tacky. Just a comment.
Yeah, and I'm not saying everything should have a sign, but I think there are a lot of the signs along the trails that should be updated. They're worn, they're faded.
But there's a lot of
mhm.
signs.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it would behoove the committees
Mhm.
really think about, maybe
Absolutely.
keeping it.
Low
Mhm.
profile.
I agree, actually.
It's my understanding with our green belt, and we're not really talking about doing any major developments within them. We're just like talking about putting some picnic tables and that kind of thing. As far as I'm aware, we're allowed to do that. Correct?
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to look into that one too, but I
Yeah.
would say so, because we've done it before.
Yeah.
And the green belts include things like the golf course, the wastewater treatment plant, water treatment plant.
Yeah.
But definitely, I think and then the other follow up is, we'll be looking at the ADA compliance. I think that's a good idea.
And Sandy Miles has her hand raised too online.
Please.
Sure.
Go ahead, Sandy.
Hi, you guys. I just, first of all, I want to commend you on all of these awesome projects. A lot of them look like they could, really work. I have a couple questions, but first, just overall, just in general, I think it would, just from background and experience, I would say that it would probably be a good idea for you guys to like pick a couple and focus on those. Grants are hard to come by these days because everybody's looking for money, and they take, quite a bit of time talking to grant managers and such. And then also the nonprofits, both Sanctuary Forest and Friends of the Lost Coast, they're pretty packed with their projects right now. So, it might take them, a year or two to even be able to start thinking about working on projects like this. So I would just say, to maybe pick a couple, and then go forward with those. And then, and base your decision on what the RIDS, Parks and Recreation strategic plan says, because I noticed that you guys had one. So since that's already laid out for you guys. And then the other thing, as far as the trails and let's see, what was it called? The project that it sounds like you want to link Whitethorn and Shelter Cove. Is that what it is?
Oh, so it's not really
Yes.
linking them. It's actually be a map for ecotourists to get all of the trails and scenic locations in Shelter Cove and Whitethorn. So, and it wouldn't be something that RID would necessarily do, but if we, named everything and had all the landmarks and icons, and it's something somebody else could take on, whether it's a business or a nonprofit. But the idea is to have something that would kind of link the two of them together because they really are very strong in ecotourism.
So so I would just say, that something like that is going to take a lot of time because there's so many different landowners and, easements and acquisitions that might need to happen and permits that might need to happen, things like that. So
Oh yeah,
yeah, and then, we would be willing to work with you, on any of the BLM stuff. I'm also on the board of Sanctuary Forest, so I kind of know what's going on over there. And of course, Friends of Lost Coast is our best friend, I would say. So we fund a lot of their work, and so anyway, yeah, I think we could definitely work with you guys on a lot of this stuff. But I think probably picking a couple things that are most important to you and then moving forward with those. And I say this as a resident as well of the Cove. It's probably the best way to go. That's just my 2 cents. And I'm here to help any way I can.
I agree 100%. That was my very first impression when I joined the committee, was prioritizing projects and kind of focusing on that. But I was told this process was for the strategic planning, and that's why it's so broad and it's so much information, and it's because it's something needed to be put down on paper. And I think that's why I like the idea of the working groups, because then those groups can spearhead some of these projects. versus then just coming every month saying, oh, this is what we'd like to do. And the process is slow enough already.
Yeah.
So,
My understanding is that this is intended to be like a detailed menu,
yes,
Mhm.
yes.
and that it's now the RID board that needs to take this up and decide
Right.
what are these things that we're
Exactly.
going to do
Exactly.
and what order we're going to do them in.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Okay. Any other comment? Okay, does somebody want
I
to?
think that was it.
That's it.
Okay.
Good job.
Thank
Well,
you.
you have
Do you wanna-
the golf course and sports update, but I think we already talked about.
Oh,
You have golf course items?
I gave it to them.
Mhm.
I sent
Yeah,
it.
We're on the
it's
action
in
items
the-
right now, so we have
it's
the
in the packet.
recommendation. So we just went through the recommendation. If somebody wants to vote on that.
So do you need a motion
I do
to
need a motion.
I make a motion that we submit this package to the RID board?
Second?
Okay, roll call, please.
Ron Powell, absent. Blair Ball,
Aye.
Joshua Shane,
Aye.
Denise Reed, absent. Bruce Christie,
Aye.
Colleen York,
Aye.
and Cindy Rajan slash.
I'm permanently absent.
Yeah, that's too bad.
I wanted to point one thing out too. I know that, Sandy brought up Whiteville and Shelter Cove, and I mean, there are a few different Southern Humboldt related organizations that kind of encompass all the Southern Humboldt communities that we could, you know, partner up with also. Southern Humboldt Business and Visitors Bureau, Southern Humboldt Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center, Discover Southern Humboldt. There's other ones that do this kind of stuff too, as far as mapping out places to see, events. Yeah, but definitely thank you though. Putting this all together.
Okay, so we have a 4th of July, but it's not printed. I'm trying to find it. What was the last one? Was it last one? It was January we read it, right? Yeah. We need to do that next.
We don't have it in here.
I know, I just realized that it's not printed. It was from,
Then we can't.
it was from
enter
last
it,
month.
right?
It was discussion
It's
on the
the
last
agenda.
meeting.
Okay.
Mhm.
We can talk about it.
Okay.
It's the agenda that has to be. really-
Oh.
So
okay,
it's the
good.
recommendations from last month, which we already went through, and so that doesn't change. I can read them over again if you guys want, and then we can vote on it,
Yeah, if you could,
because it was in the packet the last month.
okay.
So that was discussion last month.
We're done
Yep.
for the July.
4th of
Okay, yeah.
July.
And that was
Right.
enough the discussion last month, so now it's up for final recommendation action. So I
Yeah,
can
if you
briefly
wanna
go
do
over
that,
that again, which really honestly, Rich already voted on this, so their scarf is gonna do the 250th anniversary. So that's the event programming and activities. Fire safety and emergency preparedness. The fire department could maybe produce a short promotional reel addressing fireworks safety, what to do in a 4th of July emergency. Signage, regulations and visibility, increased visibility of fire regulations through temporary signage at local businesses, clubhouse, lighthouse, other high traffic gathering areas. Coordinate with local business to assist with signage placement and visibility. Community partnerships and sponsorships. So Cove Connect, we're going to do sponsor a sparkler, sponsor a spark, that's what we're calling it. Those will be distributed throughout the Cove to deter from illegal fireworks. I'm sure it won't do anything, but it'll be fun for the kids. Logistics and site considerations, evaluate the need for temporary parking restrictions at the boat ramp, particularly if construction or maintenance work is occurring during the holiday period. And that was, I think, it. Yes.
So the 4th of July event is really being spearheaded by Scarf.
Correct.
So I think
Mhm.
that's pretty much that's already happening.
Mhm.
Yes.
As a reminder of the last meeting, there was a motion to recommend Ridge partner with SCARF taking the lead for 4th of July celebration and allow some storage with an agreement for a limited time, and that was at the last meeting.
So
Yeah.
what does that look like? RID's part?
I I guess, providing the storage and then
And
location.
safety.
Yeah.
Fire.
So fire department,
Yeah.
that's RID,
Yeah.
okay.
I don't know that we need to make that recommendation because it's already been done.
It's already been done. This was before that was
Yeah.
even sent.
So,
That's what I'm.
so I don't think we need to make a.
I don't think we need to really do anything for
It
4th
just
of
says
July.
fire safety and immigration enforcement.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, I know.
on the last part.
Yeah, first part, yes.
Let's not get sidetracked.
Yeah, right.
What are you gonna do? Deport the Native American Indians?
Right.
Go back to
So
River.
what we can do, so that's pretty much already been passed anyway, so I don't think we need to even approve that anymore. So what we can do, because the action items, we're missing the community center and the sports court, we can just move on to our subcommittee reports and then vote on these the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay,
Does that
Okay.
work?
that sounds fine.
Okay. All right, so moving on to the reports. So community center. This is the final recommendation. I'll go ahead and just go through a brief overview.
Wait, hold on, I'm sorry.
Here we are.
Where are you going with right now?
So we're going to the subcommittee reports because we don't have trails, beach and access because that was the action. The next thing, I guess I was just going with what was in my packet next, which is community and evacuation center subcommittee because those weren't in the action items, even though I sent that, and neither were the sports court. I don't know if that got in too late, but that's
Yeah.
also the final. So we can just maybe review these as subcommittee reports now and then have them on action the next meeting. Yeah.
So we're done with our action items.
Mm-hmm.
We're just gonna go to the subcommittees and
And so essentially, just we've now recommended the trails, beach access parks, and the arts and ecotourism is what we passed today. And then a bit of that grants and fundraising was in there as well. Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna start with community center because it's next. So let's see. So essentially, due to the longstanding structural and system issues, the facility currently faces water intrusion, mold risk, accessibility barriers, and functional limitations that threaten its continued use. The community center subcommittee is newly formed to address these challenges through a phased strategic approach that prioritizes public health and safety, ADA compliance, and long-term redevelopment planning. This subcommittee will focus on stabilizing the existing structure while guiding a community-informed redesign that transforms the community center into a flexible, resilient, multi-use civic hub. So essentially the overview is what I'll kind of read, which is how I see it, a three-phase approach, which is immediate stabilization and mold prevention, which it sounds like we're getting there, accessibility and life safety upgrades, and then long-term redesign and functional transformation. Those are kind of like the three phases that we broke it down into. So one was the immediate building stabilization, and then so there are the critical issues to address, which is the roof failure, the south wall leaks and envelope failure, the sprinkler system deficiencies, and active and potential mold growth presenting public health risks. So recommended actions here were to commission professional inspections and assessments, which we're starting to do, obtain multiple bids for roof, wall, and system repairs, allocate funds and pursue grants specifically targeting water intrusion mitigation, mold prevention and remediation, and building envelope stabilization. So the goal here is just to make the community center watertight and safe before further deterioration occurs. And then phase two is the ADA compliance and life safety improvements. Essentially here, these upgrades would ensure this facility is inclusive, code compliant, and usable by all members of the community. Phase three would be the strategic redesign and community use planning, which would be the formation of a community center working group. It should be RID representatives, local representatives, community members, potential service providers, design and facility professional. And then their objectives would be to evaluate the existing structures, limitations, and opportunities, conduct a community need assessment, develop conceptual layouts and phase redevelopment options, and align future uses with available grant opportunities. And myself, I'd be happy to volunteer myself at least for my interior design services and planning if you would like. And then future use concepts at the planning level. So downstairs space, this would be kind of a post-remodel focus. Some ideas that we just kind of brainstormed and we heard from the community were healthcare services, visiting clinics, wellness services, screenings, daycare, childcare programs, yoga, fitness, and wellness studio, meeting rooms, or flexible service spaces. The upper main level would continue to be community events and gatherings and educational programming, emergency shelter and evacuation support. So the nonprofit infrastructure improvements would be to redesign and formalize shared storage for nonprofit use, adding in commercial grade refrigeration to support community meals, fundraisers and events, emergency food storage. Central recreation vending system. So a community center vending machine. We could install this at the front of the community center. It would replace the existing golf course kiosk, so it would actually work. Centralized location for purchasing. We could even do disc golf, access golf rounds, eco putt rounds, whale watching binocular tokens, future recreation programs, Gatorade golf balls, etc. This would create passive income and easy use for community and for tourists. The benefits would improve visitor experience, centralized revenue collection, and reduce maintenance across multiple sites. So I have all the estimated budgeting and the different phases, and then the long-term, investment potential, because we could go really crazy with the redesign and build out. So of course, these final costs are subject to professional assessments and phase scope decisions. So I put some large-scale grant and funding opportunities here, especially because it is an evacuation center. We do actually qualify for quite a lot. And then the community impact, of course, would be protecting public health by addressing the water and mold intrusion, ensures the ADA accessibility and safety for all users, preserves and modernizes a critical civic facility, enables healthcare, childcare, and wellness services, and this will also strengthen emergency preparedness and evacuation capacity.
Good job, Laura.
Thank you.
What I'm wondering though, with how we have this laid out in the phases, it sounds like the direction from the board is that we're going to be looking at it as a whole project, not remediating
Well, and I think
first. So
this
maybe
is still, with our subcommittee, this is still
Yeah.
a recommendation, because even though they say that, I don't necessarily agree with it. And I don't know how long a build out's going to take. So how long are we going to keep, abating mold and
So the kick it
getting
down the
more?
can, down a year down the road would be combining phases 2 and 3 completely,
yeah,
essentially?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
and I
And
think
that's up for the
more.
Or some scope of
Yeah,
3.
and that's really up to the board to decide how they do it. This is our recommendation for phases, so we can get rid of that mold and kind of,
Mhm.
and this is our strategy. They can take this and do whatever they want with it, but I think unless Pauline disagrees, I still think that's the best way to go about it. Leilani's not here, but I think number one just has to be stabilization and mold.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
I mean,
The mold is the bigger thing. I don't see the district fixing all of this stuff until we have,
mhm.
we go for that grant.
Well, and I think how this is laid out is we still go for the grant, and then this would be phase 1, and then 2 and 3 would then kind of go together. So, and even if it were just, maybe we just fix the sprinkler system and we fix the roof right now. And then if we want to add on, we're gonna have to add on a new roof anyway. At least we're not fixing that south wall. So I think there's some room for negotiation here, at least
Okay.
discussion for the board to have. But again, that's up to the board.
I feel like the community center thing is just, let's see. I just kind of feel like unless there's a realistic budget for it, it's just kind of hard to talk about what to do there, because there just really there hasn't been a clear information about what exactly is realistically budgeted for that facility.
Well, realistically, I mean, again, it's gonna take grants. The district doesn't have.
And to me, grants are not a sure thing.
No, but there are some good opportunities that we've been made aware of.
Right,
in
because
the last-
of the because
Correct.
of being, yeah, and I agree. I think that does help.
So just having that concept of a plan would be
Right.
helpful
Okay.
for going for those, because
Yeah.
then we have that
Right,
outline.
you have
you know,
specific things you want to
um,
target there.
Yeah. I see, from the board's perspective, I think we're probably gonna be looking at this as more of a whole picture rather than doing it, like, oh, we're gonna fix the roof, we're gonna fix the south wall. They're looking at it more as a more of a complete, they want more of a complete picture, but that's not for our committee.
Right.
Right,
Exactly.
and
That's
so-
why I'm kind of like, I just feel like there's just not enough information to, I mean, sure, we can put what we have found when we went and we investigated and we've been, tasked with looking at the community center. I just feel like there's not enough information for us to say because we're so restricted.
That's why we need the working group. Yeah, definitely for the community center, we need a working group. So I am all for putting this as an action item. I think this is fine as it sits, because again, it's just up for board discussion and what they want to do. It's just our recommendation for how we think we should phase it out, which I still agree with. But they can do whatever they want, they're the board. So we can put this up for an action item the next meeting. And then you guys can go ahead and then, is there any public comment? Okay, perfect. Then we'll go to the golf course and sports court update if you guys want to read that. And then if this is all good to go, we can also put this as an action item for final recommendation as well.
Thank you.
Do we need to do that for the community center thing
No.
before we move
No,
on?
it's because it's under discussion.
Yeah, it's under action, unfortunately.
Or it's under just committee reports, so maybe you guys can just do
I
the.
didn't have the subcommittee report on my packets. Looking on my phone.
Mine?
Unless you guys have a copy, because I didn't get that. Okay, so. You want to read the sports court and I'll do the golf?
Okay,
You have it there?
I have it right here.
Okay.
Well, should we wait for her to get back or?
No, it's Ruby.
Okay, so, as Chris has left the contract to BDM, we now know exactly, how much is within their scope. And there are a number of items that are outside the scope of BDM's contract, that are, essentially Ridge's responsibility to do, although, the pickleball club is dedicated to helping out. We need to get equipment for basketball and pickleball. There's been a lot of discussion about, what level of equipment should be purchased. And I think that's still an open discussion that probably won't be resolved and doesn't really need to be resolved for several months. Striping, we've just started discussions on that. I showed you the example of one possibility there. We need to get some input from the basketballers in the community for that, because I think one of the things that we've discussed much earlier on is that while that slab might support a wide variety of sports, it's not quite big enough for a tennis court, but it would be big enough for a volleyball court in addition. But when you start adding the stripes of volleyball on top of basketball, on top of pickleball, it becomes, just unintelligible. So that's an open thing to work out and design exactly how we should do that to accommodate, the number of sports we can practically. So like I said, it's still an open thing. You had a comment? Let's see, fencing, as Chris was talking about, there's been a consensus on that. There was a lot of objection early on to the thought of a high fence surrounding the entire enclosure. I think it makes more sense to have a low fence along the sides, and a high fence is necessary behind the backboards. Actually, I did have a good chance to talk about that in detail. I forget a guy's name who over at Black Sands Bistro is a basketballer, and looked over the plan and was entirely in support of that fencing arrangement. The horseshoe pit relocation is a more involved project than I realized, because the necessity for BDM to have a staging area. And so I guess it's an open question whether we'll attempt to install them someplace temporarily or permanently relocate that at the time when BDM starts rolling the trucks in. It looks like RID will have to cough up in the neighborhood of, well, it all depends on how it works out, but in the neighborhood of $29,000 or less, depending on how much we can spend, save. Against that $29,000, we've already put together a savings of $17,000 projected. So we're going to get the out-of-pocket for RID on this project down as low as we possibly can. It does not seem likely we'll be able to get it down to zero, but we will get it down to as low as we can. Now, to the extent that we do need to produce additional money to finish the program, a donor bricks program I think is a good idea. I don't know how much we could expect to generate from that, but I'm all for that idea. Where they would go in the layout is something we would have to figure out. I don't know whether we want that to be on the major walking path or whether that should be someplace else. That's an open thing for discussion. Signage is something that RID owns this facility, is responsible for ensuring that the facility is used responsibly, and their responsibility extends mostly to just signage. And so we're going to have to come up with use policies, which is the next topic down here, and those need to be reflected on that signage so that we shield RID from liability from the wrong kind of behaviors. We also might want to use signage as a way to recognize donors and others that have participated in the project. Landscape plants, I think, is something that we can probably accomplish in almost entirely on a donor basis, and certainly the labor. I know there's a whole bunch of people in the pickleball club who've already volunteered to help on that project. Several people have recommended, I think Kurt was one of them, who suggested that we can relatively easily get a run of a water line and 110 volt power line over to the vicinity of the, maybe over by the porta potty location. And that would provide the possibility of having a drinking fountain or a bottle filler or whatever. I looked a little bit online of what bottle fillers look like, and they want you to have a whole stainless steel monolith, essentially. I was thinking something more like a faucet, but at any rate, that's something that is an optional thing we might think about. It would be nice also for example, golfers going by to be able to have access to the water bottle, and they will probably be using that porta potty too. Okay, RID has to come up with a use policy for this, just like they have use policies for other facilities that they have. And specifically, hours of operation, I think, is going to be one of the things where communities really going to want to have input on. So at any rate, this is, I guess, is a topic for a working group as we move towards the completion of the sports courts, so that we have these policies in place before we open the facility. I recently have been pressing folks to cough up with an answer on what the limits of capacity and usage for this facility would be, because it seems to me ridiculous that we would build such a facility and have an ambiguity about how it could be used. So I've been talking with Nick about the public safety aspects of this, and he has put together an opinion on this, which is conditional at this point. So I'm going to wait for him to finish his thinking about this before we talk about that. We've also reached out to the code enforcement officer who operates in Southern Humboldt to see what their feelings are about whatever limitations on occupancy or usage that may be in the law, so that we will have a clear understanding of exactly what can and cannot be done on this facility. Rather than have people opine about what can and can't be done, I want an explicit answer on this. And so I've been pushing hard on that. Signage, like we already talked about that kind of. And then the maintenance is something that we need to figure out. Whether all of these items, Leon added some of these items in here, are going to be real significant, more than pocket change per year. There's something we have to have a policy for at RID, and probably a nonprofit partner, one that I know of that could probably help on this.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Thank you. And then Pauline can go to golf course.
Okay, golf course. Okay, funding priority. T-nose maintenance, sanding and aeration to stabilize high wear zones, improves turf longevity and playability. Fairway renovation, improve perimeter delineation, turf reinforcement, and edge definition. Hole 3 drainage improvement. Middle fairway drainage remains a persistent issue. Some options, French drain installation, surface regrading, dry well integration, hybrid subsurface drainage system. Tee boxes and greens, ongoing leveling, reseeding, top dressing, irrigation, uniformity adjustments, reclaimed water infrastructure, system efficiency upgrades, leak detection and pressure balancing, long-term sustainability, and cost reduction.
So are these things you're talking about above and beyond the normal routine maintenance that RID does every year? Or are these, I mean, identifying things that are more than we normally do?
Well, with the reclaimed water, we aren't able to use what we have right now, so we're looking at being able to.
I mean, are these things that RID wouldn't do unless we told them to?
Some of these things are things we,
Are operational, but some of them aren't.
Okay.
like the whole 3 drainage improvement is, that's a really big kind of project.
That's a project.
Yeah, that would be something we normally wouldn't do.
Okay.
A lot of the stuff I can see from the strategic plan, so
Yeah.
that was in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
B, programming and revenue opportunities, golf lessons, ability to offer beginner clinics and private instruction, youth engagement programs, potential instructor partnerships, hazards, recommendation, not recommended due to space limitations, increased maintenance burden, retail sales integration. If a vending machine or a point of sale system is installed at the community center, potential offerings, purchase of rounds, club rentals, wall sales, merchandise. Leasing golf links. Recommend exploring lease structure with a private operator. Benefits. Reduced municipal maintenance burden, predictable revenue stream, professional course management. Potential revenue sources. Lease payments, percentage of green fees, lessons and clinics, events, tournaments. C, partnerships and beautification. Collaboration opportunities with Friends of the Lost Coast, Sanctuary Forest, focus areas, native landscaping, erosion control, aesthetic upgrades, habitat-friendly plantings. D, staffing and certification. Recommend certifying a member of RID for golf links maintenance specialization, turf management best practices, irrigation oversight. 3, mock golf course maintenance schedule. Weekly, mow greens, tee boxes, fairways, inspect irrigation system, trash and debris removal. Monthly, tee nose sanding, leveling, aeration as needed, drainage inspections. Quarterly, soil testing. Is that like fertilization adjustments?
Yeah. Yeah.
Equipment servicing. Annually, deep aeration, overseeding, turf repair, drainage system evaluation. And then number 4 is just grants and funding opportunities.
I have a question. Has anybody penciled out what a business proposition would be to lease the course to an operator? I mean, is there a business that an operator might be interested
precedent for this.
in doing there? Is there enough revenue generated for someone to actually take that on?
I did reach out once to a business that does lease out golf courses.
Hmm.
They weren't really biting. They were basically saying, how about you staff it during the weekend and see what your actual revenue could be. So it's like they were looking at our footprint and our budget and thinking it's too small for them.
And that was for people out of the area, having to bring in staff. So-
Right. I mean, but even if somebody who lived here, for example, would it be a good job for them to drive our mower and do all the other stuff?
It's hard to say, it's been leased out in the past.
It has been.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it has. And then again, that takes the responsibility of having to have an employee just dedicated for that.
Mhm.
they're able to, if we were to lease it, they could employ someone at a much cheaper.
Yeah, I
cost than
understand
we can.
the attractiveness is, and the whole public versus private employee thing. I'm just wondering whether it's a business we could actually entice someone to do
I think we could if our kiosk actually worked.
it.
And we could actually get all the,
The
I mean,
kiosk,
it works now, but it hasn't in the past, so we can't say like, oh, the last year we need this much. It's hard to give a revenue.
I
of
would
what
be
we
happy to let
made.
them have the greens fees and the kiosks if
Yeah.
we could stop spending $100,000 a year maintaining
Right,
it.
right.
so that's why it's in. the
But I think it
recommendation.
could be attractive. We can't give like a whole, hey, this would be your revenue because we have had issues with the kiosk, but I think we could give them like a general estimate that could make it appealing.
So doing the kiosk step improves our odds of being able to find a contractor to do it.
Right.
Getting consistent revenue.
Correct.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't really claim it's a big moneymaker right
And
now.
it's not something that we would be able, the district could pass off right now at this moment because there's not anybody interested. But I think keeping it in our strategic plan that we eventually find somebody would be
Right.
helpful.
That is a possibility.
It's a
Correct.
possible. It leads for possibility.
Okay, great. Anything else from the committee before we move on to public
I
comment?
think we're good.
Nope.
Any public comment?
On the golf course.
Okay.
Okay.
Unfinished business. Any unfinished business?
I just would like to get some recommendations from staff, what you guys are thinking, how this looks, and is there, for our next meeting, what else would you guys, what else do you need to see from the committee?
Well, like I said, this is a lot. I think, like kind of what Sandy said online, is just focusing on one or two small things to build up bigger things. Again, I know right now we're really focusing on the clubhouse. Staff is, that's something we're working on.
So maybe for the next meeting, coming up with a priority list, like.
Well, and I think it would be a mix of things. I think it's good to start with the really small attainable projects. They don't cost a lot and are kind of easy to execute and complete, but then also in the background, take on some of those monster projects and get those at least developed and researched. So I think we can do two things at the same time, do the small little projects that are easy. So the community's like, oh, we're getting stuff done,
What should subcommittees be focusing on in the next month?
Yeah, because we don't have any.
Oh, you're asking them.
Yeah.
So I would say just doing some community outreach to people for one, and just seeing if people have anything else to add. We've done a community outreach, but just
Should
for
we
the next
be,
meeting.
should we be putting together for the golf course and the sports courts, the same kind of documents that you put together for these other things?
It's basically that.
It's really similar. I
Yeah.
formatted it almost the same, unless you wanted to put your own cost analysis in there, Bruce. I didn't want to do that for the sports court. But if you
Okay.
wanted to do that, you totally could. But that's up to
No,
you.
my point is.
And I think that's already been given to the board.
I think so too.
We don't need to do
Yeah.
that.
I think a priority list would be good because a lot of these, the funding source would be the same. We don't want to compete our own projects
Right.
against themselves. So we have
Right.
to figure out which ones we want to prioritize.
So in your subcommittee groups, like just look at your list and see what you would like to see or what makes sense to prioritize.
Okay.
As far as.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get, guidance on how we're supposed to move forward with this committee.
Well, we won't really know until after the next RID meeting, after we get it total to.
Well, and I think we've already just decided, right, the next meeting we're gonna have on action items dissolving and then recommending the sports court and the community center, because that
Okay.
wasn't
To a
on
working
there.
group.
Those will be the 3 action items, and then we'll take that to RID and present those in April. We'll present these ones that we approved today at this next RID meeting in March. We'll approve those 3 in April, which will have the dissolving of the subcommittee then. And then hopefully then they'll say, okay, we want to prioritize these things and we're going to create these working groups.
Right, okay.
So that's what I'm hoping. And that'll probably not be till May, June by the time that even gets approved.
Okay,
So we'll have a little time off.
so we'll just have,
Yeah.
Just trying to
Yeah. And we might have
determine where
some.
to put.
focus and energy.
And we might not have any follow-up even really until the RID meeting when they ask questions.
Okay.
And then at that time, maybe it'll be something on parks, trails, and beaches that we need to get together before the next Parks and Rec meeting.
I think, 90% of the residents have no idea about all this work that's gone on. And, the next step is for RID to decide, which of these things they want to embark upon. But I think it also presents an opportunity for all of this ideas and work and everything to be presented to the public, to start generating the public feedback on things that are now much more concrete. When we are at the level of the survey or even at the strategic plan, things were very broad-based and it's difficult to get a lot of feedback from people under those circumstances. This is stuff that you can actually get, meaningful feedback on. And since we're going to be asking the board to make decisions on embarking on some of these projects, it's the perfect time. So I think, a special RID meeting in which presentations are made describing each of these and allowing people to digest them would be a very good thing.
So what about doing that at our next March committee meeting, but having the committee meeting at nighttime?
Oh, do a
That's
presentation.
the-
Like we did the
it is
town
our
hall.
quarter
Oh, yeah,
meeting.
and within this committee then, that'd be fine, yeah.
Why
That
don't
sounds
we
good.
do that at the 5 p.m.?
5 or 6 p.m.
Mhm.
What did we do last time?
I think we did 5.
I
can't
don't know, I
remember.
have to look. I kind of feel like it was 6, but maybe not.
I say we do 5. just
So like
earlier.
basically a
Presentation,
Yeah.
town hall.
And it
That's
would be our
Yeah.
last committee meeting. People can
Okay.
ask any questions they want.
Yeah, people don't know this stuff.
Yeah.
okay. Sounds
I
good.
don't know that we'll name it a town hall because I got pushed back at the last time that we weren't supposed, that we didn't hold it the way a town hall was supposed to be. And so we'll just say it's our
Community,
Just committee
Outreach.
yeah,
community outreach.
Because that's what it is. We're
Community
trying to give the
outreach committee.
information to the community. Okay.
Does that sound good, guys?
Sounds great.
Public is always invited, and
Yeah.
sometimes more than one will show up.
Oh, yeah, it was 6 p.m. in the past.
Okay. All right, that's fine.
And that would be,
So-
are we talking about what meeting for that?
March.
The
March.
March meeting,
So next
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
which is around the corner.
Yeah.
Which is next week.
March, it'll be the same day.
Yep.
It would be the
26.
26th.
Mhm.
Okay.
And that would be all of these things plus the community center and the Foursquare.
Yep, we just have
Right.
those on as action
Right.
items for that meeting.
Okay.
But we'll be getting everybody's.
So we'll have it all for everybody. We can even do the little sticker thing again. We'll figure something out. Okay, no more unfinished business.
One thing I would like to point out, I guess it wasn't very popular, is there was no mention of the dog park in all this.
Oh,
Well,
I support a dog park.
I did until I looked into liability insurance, which is quite pricey. So I don't know if that's something you guys want to take on.
That would be a question to the insurance company.
I would maybe, that's why I didn't put it in there, because
Yeah.
the insurance is really insane, and some insurances, they won't even cover it.
Dogs.
Attacking other dogs and potential bites. And
And we have Cove Beach.
I've seen,
Trauma at dog parks.
Yeah.
Trust
But
me.
also, we're making these recommendations. That doesn't mean that staff can't make more recommendations, right? I don't know what it would look like for our insurance, but if that's something we can look at, I would love to do that. I think the dog park would be beneficial to the community. But again, it's, the board can also adapt other things that we
Right.
aren't recommending.
Right.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah. But check with your insurance company, because they might be like, nope.
Or they might be like,
Or they might be okay, I don't know, but, that's why it's not in there, but.
No, they'll probably say, wait a minute, the entire Cove is a dog
That's
park.
Right, exactly. What do you need? We have this-
an unleashed dog.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, unless there's anything public comment, I think that does it for the meeting today. And so this meeting is adjourned at 12:02. We will see you on the 26th at 6 p.m.